Zephyr had a wild night with Moses, but then Tucker traps her and takes her to his boat. Heather warns her that there is no escape from this, and even when they try to, Tucker puts them below the water with a bunch of sharks and some chum to entice them to bite them to pieces, and they're dangerous animals, which is a Shudder original from IFC Films and a few studios based in Australia, which makes sense because it takes place on the coast of Australia. Where on the coast? It's an island nation. I have no goddamn idea. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, there's Perth. Those are like the 4 goddamn cities that I know that are in Australia. There are also 4 cities that host wrestling events, but that is neither here nor there. Dangerous Animals actually comes out in about a week and a half. I was able to see a special screening thanks to the Regal Mystery Movie Monday that they occasionally have. Bring Her Back was last week. By the way, thank you guys very much for tuning into that review. You guys have actually made it the most popular movie review of this year so far. Besides, I'm still here. And Dangerous Animals, being a Shudder original, getting a limited theatrical release, it's nice. I'm glad that they're doing more of this stuff because I'm glad that Shudder is getting more of a foothold in the theatrical market. Also, theater chains are desperate to just have content because that way they don't have to have extra screens of things and deal with the bullshit that like Minecraft caused. So this was directed by Sean Byrne, who did The Loved Ones and The Devil's Candy, 2 films that I actually need to check out at some point. I've heard good things. And written by Nick Leppard, without the O because he hasn't earned his spot yet. Har har. I kid, of course. So this takes place somewhere in Australia, and there is a young lady named Zephyr, played by the very, very, very stunning Hazzie Harrison, who, my God, my word, where has this woman been hiding? I need to check out more of her stuff, because not only does she have a commanding presence, holy shit with respect. My goodness. She's a surfer. She has a bit of a backstory, gets revealed later on, but she has a wild night with a man named Moses after helping him with his car, played by Josh Houston, by the way. Not to be confused with Paul Bosch's Houston. At least headphones could fit around Josh's ears. If you get it, you get it. And they have a wild night, which, boy, who wouldn't want a wild night with a beautiful blonde like that? Or a beautiful man like that. I mean, those are 2 pretty people that could produce some beautiful kids. I know that they are characters, but come on, look at both of them. They spent a lot of time in the gym. But then, unfortunately, well, let's just say Zephyr should have made a better decision because there is an evil man named Tucker that has a shark touring thing that he does. He takes people out into a shark cage, puts some chum around so it activates the sharks, but they're safe in the cage. Except they're not, because Tucker's actually kind of not a stable individual. Obviously, it's a Shudder original that involves Australia and involves various, evil people. Well, one, and also sharks. And as a streamlined premise, it is somewhat familiar and honest to God probably would have not worked had it not been for the fact that this had a few good characters, including a heroine that just wouldn't goddamn quit. Philip Seymour Hoffman knows all about that. Oh, this review is going well. And the whole point is Hazzie plays it perfectly. She plays Zephyr perfectly. She is bound determined to find a damn way to prove to Tucker that he is not the alpha male. He is not the predator. He is going to be the prey. And it's terrific. It's a lot of fun. It is not, again, the most wholly original thing. There are flaws that I found in the movie. It is one to see with an engaged audience. I did also enjoy the fact that what was nice about this is also a breezy 90 minutes. The only issues I really goddamn had was, I know it has to do with Australians not liking tourists or outsiders. That was something that the surfer tried to tap into. It just didn't do a very good job of it, in my opinion. That was more psychological horror torture. This is more just straight up Tucker is evil. By the way, Tucker is played by Jai Courtney, who was Eric in Divergent. I wonder why I recognized him. There's also a young lady named Heather, played by Ella Newton, who's been in that Neighbors show. I know it's a really popular soap opera, I believe. Soap opera or drama of some variety in Australia. But the thing is, it's breezy, it's fun, and Hazy does not allow herself to just be a damsel in distress while also having to fight back. And it's like a dastardly heel and a small baby face. It's like Ricky Morton again, and this is deep cuts for wrestling fans. Ricky Morton against one of the Russians, like say Nikita Koloff, 1985-86. They have it where just enough hope. They just give enough hope to Zephyr's character after all this stuff goes down. But then she gets put back in the scenario and it seems hopeless. And then she gets back and then just enough, it just gives you enough hope. And it takes it away. And it does it well. It expertly paces it. Again, I'm not saying the movie is perfect. The movie does have a few issues. Familiarity. Also how certain people survive certain injuries. I do have questions about that. But movie logic, we can just accept that. Also, by that point, I'm invested, and it does also prove how far somebody would go when they when they finally meet the person that they care about. So, perfect movie? No. A lot of fun? Abso-goddamn-lutely. When it is in theaters, probably for a limited theatrical release, please check it out. Support films like this so we can get more independent horror movies like this released in theaters. That being said, I'm going to get into spoilers, so there we are. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, we start in the beginning with Tucker taking a Canadian named Greg. No, not Greg the Canadian. There's also a very, very weird neighbor. Not the drama, not the soap opera, but a neighbor with a weird barking dog that gets Tucker clients, yet he's somehow not aware of what Tucker's actually doing, which means this guy's an idiot. And also the accents were a little bit hard to understand. I would have liked subtitles. Because sometimes the names were a little confusing. I think it's Dave, Rob Carlton. Looks like him based on the cast. They didn't have the full cast listing on IMDb because the movie's not fully out yet. But he gets some clients and stuff like that. But we have Greg and we have Heather. And I do have to say Ella Newton actually does have a bright future as far as being in horror. She actually did pretty good here, even though she didn't make it all that long. So they do the shark cage thing. She didn't want to do it, but she ended up doing it. He ended up calming her down. They get out, and everything's good. By the way, to calm them down before they went down, you'll never hear Baby Shark the same goddamn way again, because he did the Baby Shark theme after doing a breathing exercise. No, really, it's fucking hilarious. You gotta hear it, and you gotta see it. And then Tucker just shows his true colors, stabs the fuck out of Greg, and he ends up dying of getting thrown in the water, and now Heather is being trapped because he has issues with women. He did discuss just a little bit before that he got attacked by a shark, had a big old scar like this, but it's not the shark's fault. And then Zephyr is just doing her thing, living in her van, running away from her life because she's had a lot of foster homes, apparently. This is revealed a little bit later on. And she's kind of living a nomad lifestyle. How she was able to do this and with what money in Australia, I don't know, but she wanted to surf, and that's okay. Let's just ignore that. She's doing that. She ends up helping a man named Moses who has a realtor job. But his car broke down, and she helps him with jumper cables. This is after, by the way, she sneaks some Ben & Jerry's in a Slurpee cup after putting some Slurpee in there. That's creative, I'll say that. Also, I think that's probably pretty bad for an outsider to do that, but whatever. I guess the dingo ate their Ben & Jerry's. I'm sorry to any Australian people having to be watching this. I can't help it. So, she ends up helping him jump his car. They discuss Creedence Clearwater Revival a little bit. And he discusses about like this one song, the dance is a metaphor. It's about meeting the person that you're meant to be with. And, you just go for it. And then they end up fucking. And it's quick, but the movie's 90 minutes and we have to get to the shark stuff. But they have a really, really nice night. And they're parked in her van in front of his house or in his driveway. And everything's good. They're sharing secrets, that kind of stuff. But she is kind of a little distant still. And then he makes her breakfast and goes back out and she's gone. And that's kind of a bitch move. She ends up going and wanting to do some surfing. Now, mind you, there's this thing called a surf key a board key, whatever the hell it is. I don't know enough about surfing. A key of some variety. Well, he threw it out because I guess it was poking into his back or whatever. We've all been there when things have poked into our back when we've been with the right woman, right, guys? Just me. So she finds out that Tucker has one. Now, Tucker's truck is just there, trucker as it were. The trucker Tucker. It's really, really got to be careful how I say that. He gives her a key. Everything's good. She gets this, and then he drives off. And then he comes back and smothers over the bag. And then puts her in this weird thing. This, like, it's almost like a carry-on bag if you were carrying a body on a plane. And who hasn't done that at some point? Again, just me? So basically, she ends up handcuffed to a bed, the bed railing, and there's Heather. And Ella does a good job here. She's describing, how he is and stuff like that. And basically, they try to free themselves because she has an underwire bra, so she tries to do that and everything and free. Well, while just before that happens, he decides to give them some Vegemite on some bread. I don't know what Vegemite is specifically, but I've heard it's disgusting. I've heard you either love or you hate it. Also gave him some water because it's 1,000 degrees in the room. Oh, look, the water's drugged and she can't pick the lock quick enough. So that's first thing right there. And then the idea is he records people being attacked by sharks and takes like a lock of their hair, puts it in a VHS case. Yes, a VHS. He had an RCA camera. Used to have one of those. We also used to use one of those at school. Yes, that's how far back my school stuff goes. And he does that to Heather and makes Zephyr watch. And from there, we get basically a game of cat and mouse and stuff like that. He spouts some exposition. Also mentions about how, Zephyr's a fighter. Oh, you're a fighter. I love fighters. Makes for a better show. Meanwhile, Moses is looking for her and trying to find out about this. He tries to report her to the police because he's native, but he doesn't know her last name. But then the idea is like, well, she's an outsider. Let's go look for her. So they get the Coast Guard. They get the other stuff. They get the freaking, kangaroos with the goddamn scuba gear. They don't get that, but I would have loved to have seen that. My God, now I need to see this movie remade. Make a movie about kangaroos and scuba gear. Sean Byrne, I don't think he will. There is no way the director is watching this. But I would find it hilarious. It would also, it would just be funny. It would be a funny, silly horror romp. You'll rue the day you got in the water. So there, the tagline. Just wrote it for you. Nevertheless, Moses is doing this stuff and everybody's searching while she is fighting back occasionally. Now, she does manage eventually to free herself after she breaks apart the bucket handle, and kind of makes a shiv out of it. Manages to stab him, but he manages to get her a little bit later with this concoction that, knocks her out. I don't know what it is, but it knocks her out. The idea is he just likes to torture women, like I say, take a lock of their hair, do all that stuff. So, yeah, it gives you just enough open and it takes it away and stuff like that. She does have one funny thing that she does, after stabbing him and after, getting knocked out. Just before she goes, she throws the camera. She throws the camera with the tape, or maybe not with the tape, but throws the camera in there. And now he's got to go to the thrift store that apparently they have over there to get that stuff. Moses, meanwhile, does manage to find the security camera footage on the beach and finds out about Tucker's truck, calls, finds out about the address, goes there while Tucker is looking for some stuff, looking for this camera and stuff like that. And I have to say that Mr. Courtney does a great job here. He really, really does. And again, giving just enough hope spots to Zephyr really, really does work because you get the sense that she's going to keep fighting back. He talks about, you think there's a snake that pretends to be a predator, but I am the predator. And he knows so much about sharks. So he doesn't quite know enough about sharks because, one, he got bitten. I know he was a kid. But two, also, it's going to come back to bite him, literally. Now, there was a point where she swam away. She tried to, but he managed to hook her. Not that kind of hooker. And get her back in. He's going to go get the camera. Meanwhile, Moses is looking for this stuff. And that weird neighbor guy, is trying to help Tucker because he's trying to help him get clients. So Moses has him down, everything he sees. He has seen Zephyr. He goes for help. He's trying to call. Tucker's attacking him. They're getting in a big schmozz. He's got him pinned down. He's almost got him. And then the neighbor guy hits him enough and knocks him out. And Tucker, what the hell's going on? This kind of stuff. And then he hears this, Zephyr in the basement, or the bowels chained in the bowels of the ship. Had to edit it as shrieking New Jack noises. But here's that. What the hell are you doing? And then he gets hit in the head with a hook. Like the hook stuff. So he's dead. Now, Moses has fucked up the whole goddamn thing. Not meaning to. I mean, he tried. But Tucker got one up on him. So now they're both trapped and everything. Now, it was cool, by the way, to see Heather get eaten. That was actually pretty goddamn nice. They showed her body floating away a little bit earlier. And now the idea is okay, even though he's a big real estate, big shot, Tucker's going to kill him, make it a matinee during the day, and then he's going to kill Zephyr at night. He goes to do it with Moses, puts him on a little apparatus, puts him down and everything. Don't move, she says. Don't move. Their actions are based on movement. So he doesn't. And he manages, by the way, to, not get free, but he's like, okay, whatever, bring him back. And he ends up stabbing him a few times, Tucker does. That ought to get the sharks activated. And then he goes to do it again, but then sees a helicopter in the distance. So the Coast Guard is right there. So he has to bring him back in. He puts them both back, handcuffed to the beds, which somehow the helicopter didn't see. This is where I had a bit of an issue because he's starting to bleed out. Meanwhile, in the interim here, Zephyr decides the only way she can get free from the handcuffs and finally take care of this guy is to break her thumb, but then it doesn't work. And she bites her thumb off. Oh, man, the audience was like, oh. I don't think anybody wanted to take a bite of their popcorn after that. But that was good stuff. That was good. And what I just loved is that we built on this. She's got her hand bandaged, and she's trying to climb up, but she's got no thumb to grip, so she's really got to just trust with this. She's trying to get out. She gets in a fight with him in the kitchen. Hits Tucker with the goddamn pan. Really good shot there. And mind you, she can't really take Moses with her because he's gut shot. Now, she did manage to bandage him, so he's not going to bleed out. At least bleed out that quickly. And a little bit earlier, she saw a rave ship. Well, this time, she sees lights on the coast. So she decides, I'm going to swim there. And she manages to swim there. Unfortunately, Tucker has a jet ski-like thing, or a little boat, mini boat on his boat, and manages to get her just before she can get to the people that apparently didn't want to come to the shore. They didn't want to, and apparently they couldn't hear anything going on. He brings her back. She's got the no thumb. He's going to make Moses watch as this goes on. And he's going to put her in the water, and because she's bleeding, that's it. Oh, there's a big bull shark or a great white, whatever. It was hard to tell. Some of the shots were a little bit confusing. Also, some of the CGI, not all that great. He then compares Zephyr to a marlin. And a marlin will keep fighting. You think you get it, but you can't get it. It goes back out. But the thing is, once that hook's in, that means you're already on the boat. But that's where his ego catches up with him. Because then he's recording and stuff like that. And he's trying to poke the shark with one of those hooks, one of those sticks and everything to antagonize it. But then the shark kind of bites the stick, but then lets it go. She manages to get the stick on the hook, and she's crawling up and stuff like that. But then she manages to get herself free. Unfortunately, now she's in the water, and she's bleeding from the thumb. And she manages to hold her breath and stay still, so the shark doesn't do anything. The shark just says, well, she was there, but she stopped moving. I don't know. Woo. She gets back on the boat. Moses, by this point, is not doing all that well. They did have a little bit of a romantic conversation about, not feeling like you're worthy of love and stuff like that. That factors into the finish here in a minute. But she manages to get one of those harpoon type guns that has a string on it and gets him. And Tucker gets in the water and then eventually gets chomped up. And that's it. That's it. Oh, the string on the floor gets attached to her foot and she gets dragged out. Tucker's dead. Moses is still handcuffed to the thing, and even if the security get to him, or, the Coast Guard get to him, he's probably fucked. So that's it. That's it. Okay, movie over. Whatever. Oh, wait, no, she's back. She's back. She managed to get back just fine. And she talked to Moses, and yeah, there is something for me on land. She said there was nothing for her on land earlier. It's you. And then he's like, yeah, I knew it. She gets a flare. The Rave ship is still there. And they manage to get, I guess, in contact, because then it smash cuts to credits and we get a happy ending. I guess. Or the shark could have taken over the ship and taken them to the goddamn, coast and said, well, now we're in real international waters, so anything I do to you, it will just gill you to death. And on that note, A-. It's not perfect, but it has its moments. It has a lot of fun moments, and it's fun. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.